Recorded at the WNDU 16 News Now studios, this is the South Bend Tribune's Pot of Gold Notre Dame football podcast. Here are your hosts, columnist Tom Noie, Notre Dame football beat writer Mike Berardino, and WNDU's Jackson Neill.
Yet another edition of Pot of Gold. This one for October 8th. 2025. It is absolutely fall here in northern Indiana, and if you were up like I was at 6:30 in the morning, you would know because it was 47 degrees outside.
I slept through that.
I'm sure you did. You probably didn't go to bed till like 2 o'clock.
Probably.
It's 62 right now. So Notre Dame football, the Irish have won 3 in a row. They're up to 16 in the coaches poll. They're 3-2, getting ready to face North Carolina State. North Carolina State is 4-2. We have different names of different games this year. The opening game, the games coming off of bye weeks, going into bye weeks, the season finale. Here's a question for you. What's this game?
It's the Peacock game.
There you go.
Trust me.
It's the old Peacock game.
If you're the NBC affiliate here in South Bend, Indiana, we are very aware when the Peacock game is, and it's not our decision. That's all I'm going to say for our local listeners.
Do you get a lot of calls about that? Do you find yourself, as the switchboard blows up?
Lots of calls. We mentioned it all week long, but
lots of graphics I notice on the newscasts about how to find Peacock.
You know,
right?
This is not our decision. If we had our way, I don't think we'd have any Peacock exclusives, but you know what? It's what it is, and gotta live with it.
Back when we had a newsroom, back when we had a sports department and we're at the corner of Colfax and Lafayette, when Notre Dame went out to Air Force to play a game on a Saturday afternoon, I think maybe it was even in October, and the powers, whoever the powers that be were, decided, hey, you know what? We're going to televise this game on CBS Sportsnet.
Oh, yeah, because they have those Mountain West games. Yeah.
And the calls, I happened to be in the office that day working when we used to work in the office, and the calls that day leading into the game, during the game, like right up until halftime, people were still scrambling. How do I find this CBS Sportsnet on television? So I can only imagine if we still had a sports department, if we still had a newsroom, still had a building, the phone lines would be jammed because you take Notre Dame football off NBC, where it's been since early 1991, and put it where people can't find it, it causes problems.
My only thing on this, when the NFL does this with like their YouTube games and their Peacock games, it's still on the broadcast channel in the home markets.
It is, yes.
So that's all I got to say.
But is it on NBC in South Bend?
This game?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
See?
It is not. So we still have a building, and on our call we'll still be lighting up this weekend, Tom. If you want to experience that again.
Maybe a recording. Maybe you could do the recording in advance, and they just play that for people when they call in between hours of 3:30 and 7 or whatever. And when they say, "Where's the game?" they'll just hear you.
Hey, this is Jackson Neill, WNDU sports coordinator. If you're looking for the Notre Dame.
If you would like to hear our pot of gold, press 1. If you'd like to hear Mike Berardino's prediction, press 2.
Go with that.
Go that route.
Okay.
No? You don't want
I like the idea of a pre-record, though. I think it's a good branding possibility for you.
I'll talk to the powers that be and see what we can put together for Saturday.
Oh, just do it. Just do it.
I just hope they have Peacock in the press box, so we're not watching some infomercial on NBC.
I subscribe. I get it right here on.
I don't.
It's pretty good value. They keep jacking up the price.
There's a lot of sports on there now with the NBA.
Yeah, the NBA.
Soccer.
They had NBA preseason on Peacock last night.
I don't do NBA. I'm a big NBA guy. I don't do preseason.
No, that's where you draw the line.
Yeah, I'll just get it with regular season.
All right, before we get into North Carolina State talk, we'll talk a little North Carolina State. We'll talk a little Boise State. We're going to talk to our friend of the program, Pete Cordelli. He's coming back for the second time in 3 weeks because we barely scratched the surface, and we went deep with Pete Cordelli the first time around. So we've got a lot of things to talk to him about it. Maybe we can get it all in this time. We'll see what happens with that. We may get to speak up. And then at the end, we will have one bold prediction and a score prediction. And this week has been so long, I can't even remember what I picked. I have to go back and look when we get a chance. So, but we'll start where we always start with one question, gentlemen, and it is this. Now that we're past the whole clarity equals velocity issue, is this the real Notre Dame defense we've seen the last 2 games? Closer to the first 3, or maybe somewhere in the middle? What say you, gents?
Me first?
Sure, go ahead.
Thanks, Mike. I'm going somewhere in the middle on this one. I think it was not as bad as we really thought in the beginning, but...
It was bad.
It was bad. But I think the talent on the team, I think, was going to eventually even out. But we're still got to remember this was Boise State. And when it came right down to it, Notre Dame was just, way more talented on defense than Boise State was on offense, I think, especially up front. Maddox Madsen, when he had pressure on him, when he had to move his feet, was just not accurate with the football at all. So I think I don't know if the 7 points is really completely indicative. I think Arkansas quit in that game, so I don't know if 13 points is on the road at an SEC point is really indicative. But there obviously is some improvement. It's not as bad as the first 2 games.
Here are 2 stats that are indicative that this defense is getting better. And remember, Arkansas and Boise State both came into that game ranked pretty high offensively, whether it was total offense, scoring offense, rush, pass, whatever. They had some pretty good offenses going in against Notre Dame, especially the Arkansas game coming off the heels of Purdue. Like Purdue, people are asking, how the heck can Purdue hang 30 on Notre Dame defensively? But last 2 weeks at Arkansas, at home against Boise State, the Irish defense have thrown shutouts of the last 33 minutes of the Arkansas game. Arkansas did not score. And for the last 34 minutes of the Boise State game, Boise State did not score. So, yeah, you say, yeah, it's Boise State. Yeah, it's an Arkansas team that quit. But I think this defense is getting a little better every week. What do you think? And why? Why is this defense better?
Well, I like those numbers about how long they were able to keep the opponent off the board. How about these numbers? First 2 games, Notre Dame missed a total of 21 tackles.
Yes.
12 against Miami, 9 against A&M. Granted, those are top 5 current opponents now. High-level skill. But last 3 games, 3 missed tackles against Purdue, 6 against Arkansas, 6 against Boise, which kind of surprised me, that number. But that's good enough to climb from about 105th in the country in tackling efficiency to 15th. Notre Dame all the way up to 15th, which kind of tells me it's hard to tackle these modern super athletes. People, they're not going to just stand there and let you take them to the ground. You got to work for it. And so I talked to Christian Gray about that a little bit. That'll be a TTP for the people here in the coming days. But I do think that just being able to wrap up, not have what happened against Mario Craver and friends, and of course those, Malachi Toney. I mean, a lot of skill in those first 2 games, but at least Notre Dame's getting the people to the ground and avoiding. That's how you avoid explosive plays.
Where the hell do you find tackling efficiency as a stat?
I kind of chart it myself. I like to
it's
keep track
a
of,
Mike Berardino spot.
I chart all the teams
because I'm looking at the NCAA stats and I'm going up and down trying to find. All right, where's tackling efficiency? How do you find tackling efficiency? You should just go work for those pro
ancient
football
Italian
guys.
secret.
Mike's in his apartment charting tackling efficiency every Sunday morning.
No, I'll give it up. Pro Football Focus is a go-to, and I pay for that annually. And there's so much material on there, but they somehow endeavor to give a tackling efficiency grade, and that's where I'm getting these missed tackles. And Christian Gray's only missed 2 tackles this whole year. One of them would like to have back.
That one he missed against Purdue counted like for 5.
Yeah,
because he just that was the classic business decision. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to make this tackle.
Well, he's only missed 2. So that they have a variety of other. Kind of puts in context. It doesn't. It's 136 teams now in FBS, but they don't separate it out. It's a little harder to separate it out. Power 4. And Notre Dame, but some of these the trend line has been good in the last 3 games overall, and you get the sense that Notre Dame will continue to build on that, but cannot look past an NC State team. I know we're not there yet, that did beat Virginia, and Virginia suddenly is legit.
Pretty good team.
Ranked, right?
Yeah, ranked. Yeah. Went into Louisville, right?
Went into Louisville. So defensively, Notre Dame, I think after either the Texas A&M game or the Purdue game, you looked at the defensive numbers, and across the board, they were like in the hundreds.
130s.
Like 130.
Pass efficiency, especially.
112, 108. Right now, as we sit here, 5 games in with Notre Dame, 3-2, they are, let's see, total defense, 78th. Rush defense, 43rd. Passing yards allowed, it's still got to come down, 114. Scoring defense, 70. Turnover margin, 16. Third down conversion percentage defense, 61. So they're good, but they've got still so much more room to improve. And Saturday might be another get healthy game for the defense. Yeah,
obviously, and we mentioned getting healthy. Obviously, having Leonard Moore, I think, back was just so huge for the defense. But you still got to remember, I think Mike made a really good point about all the receivers they played in those first 2 weeks.
Right.
I know the Arkansas was a top 5 offense, but we talked about the quit factor. I know Boise State, we think of them as this program, but this is a team that did lose 34-7 to USF. Like, they're still a group of 5 program. Like, the talent, when they've gotten right recently, has been multiple steps below what they have on defense.
Do you want me to scare you guys?
Yeah, sure.
It's
Halloween.
It's almost, yeah.
Yet? Are we talking about them yet?
We can talk about whatever you want.
Right. C.J. Bailey, 6'6" quarterback, runs a 4.8 40, 29-inch vertical.
Oops, guy.
And went 38-2 as a high school quarterback down at Chaminade, Madonna. Now, he did have a wide receiver there named Jeremiah Smith. Can you imagine how cool that would be in high school to just be padding your stats? Where am I going to go with the ball? I think I'll go to that guy.
Imagine getting done algebra and it's like, okay, I'm going to go up against Jeremiah Smith and C.J. Bailey.
Wow. So that's 38-2 as a high school guy, and he's already made he's already made 15 starts in college. So he's pretty much a finished product and a dangerous product. I don't know if they have a ton of things around him, but Dave Dorn, excellent coach. NC State, if you mess around with them, as Notre Dame did mess around with Boise, they were giving them hope early on, actually trailing 7-6, right?
You so wanted to see Maddox Madsen have a big day on Saturday.
No, I don't.
Yes, you did.
No, Maddox Jeter Madsen.
That's a great name. That's a great name.
Yeah, a guy who can't even have a 60% completion rate. He has to change his first name. It's not fair. Greg Maddox, Greg Maddox, friends of Greg Maddox suing now. It's in the legal system. He cannot call himself Maddox spelled that. Maybe it's changed the spelling. Because that guy, obviously he was, Rembrandt. But that guy was little. He was 5'10". He was Drew Pine size. He's smaller than Drew Pine listed. Probably Drew Pine-ish. And then so that's why I asked Marcus kind of the weird question, perhaps about the size of the quarterback. But they go from Talon Green, 6'6", 6'5", to in between this little guy who Kingston Viliamu-Asa was going for a strip sack and instead hits the guy in the head because his helmet was where the ball should have been.
Yeah.
Marcus Freeman made mention of that this week when he says if he hits the quarterback this week, he's probably hitting him in the shoulder instead of smacking him in the helmet. There
you go. That's an 8-inch difference between what your target point is as a pass rusher.
It's big.
And 4 sacks, 4 interceptions. Though they got some tangible feedback on whatever adjustments they've been making. I also get a sense with it, I can't say for certain that this is why the tackling's gotten better, but I get a sense that they're not trying to do the rugby tackle as much. I need to really drill down on that. Maybe it's a question for Zoom. But I did ask Marcus about tackling, but I didn't portray it that way because that was the Chris Ash thing. He's like he just loves that rugby tackle, which strikes me that it might be a little more of an excuse me tackle as opposed to a form. It's not form tackle. It's kind of a fancy new-fangled way to do it, and he's been doing it for a decade plus. He kind of brought it in at Ohio State in 2014, but whatever they're doing, it's working.
Aside from tackling, Jackson, what's working for the defense of late?
I think
personnel.
I think a little
scheme,
a little bit of personnel. I I mentioned the level of talent that they're going up against. Having Leonard Moore back there, I think, just does so much. When you have a corner that who is, by a lot of people's accounts, the best one in America, if not top 5, I think it completely changes how you can look in that pass defense because he's that much of a difference maker. So I don't think we can overstate just like most recently having him back and how important that was for that defense. Obviously, you're going to see the 2 interceptions, but it's just more so the fact of like you can put Leonard Moore out there on an island on one side and be like, we're going to be fine on that side. Let's give Gray some help. Let's give help in other areas. When you have that, it just completely shifts, I think, the defense as a whole. In addition to, I just think they're just playing. We talked about the togetherness between like the pass rush, the pass, in the back end, the linebackers. They do look like maybe there is some level of gelling, but I think this past week a huge thing was just having Moore back there. I
like the snap distribution. It's just some of it was injury related early on, but some of it was just you want your playmakers out there as much as possible. Mm-hmm. And so how about these snap totals out of 78 max against Boise? Leonard Moore was out there for 68. Tay Johnson was out there for all but 1 snap. Tay Johnson got his first pick. This is a game breaker, a game changer. He can deliver a blow. He's reading where he needs to be on the back end. Pretty just a prototype free safety. Following Xavier Watts is an impossible ask, but he's on his way. Kingston Viliamu-Asa, 62 snaps, leading all the linebackers. That's what you want. And Tom wrote about what he means. And Boubacar Traore up to 47, and he's a guy who's just a nightmare for no matter where he's going to come off the edge. And he's getting home. So that I like that trend line of making sure that the people that there's no more about on their way to earning the trust. It seems like the people who need to be out there are now out there the most.
I still want to see some more from Bryce Young.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there's more in there.
There's so much there. Why haven't we seen it? Is he too big? Is it scheme?
That's a fair question. He has bulked up.
He's a very large, and I saw one snap where he was at DT last week against Boise State. So is he too big?
That is my biggest thing I've wondered this entire season with this defense. I think coming into the year, you asked me the breakout player in the defense, and he was my pick because it was pretty obvious from anyone who watched the team last season. All those moments he got on the field, it was just there's something there, and to have seen. Has there really been a Bryce Young moment this season?
We had a sack, but against Purdue. But
that doesn't count.
But I mean, like a moment where I'm like, I can't remember like a Bryce Young snap so far from this season.
Like last year, before he really made a mark defensively, there wasn't a punt coverage or a punt rush where you didn't notice number 30. You're like, wow, who's that guy?
Or even if he didn't block the punt or anything, or was it the kickoff return 2 where he had
he knocked two like bowling pins at Purdue, knocked 2 guys out on one.
Yeah, that play.
I talked to his dad about it at the Rockney Awards and wrote about it a couple Sundays ago. And one of the things that his dad pointed out is, just basically, as any parent, but there's a parent who's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
He knows what he's talking about.
A guy in his second year, you got to guard against putting too much pressure on yourself to factor on every single snap. You hope to, and the other thing, that Bryce, to his credit, has publicly said, he's dedicating this season to his late brother, Colby, and that's another added layer of pressure. He's going to have a wonderful career. He may end up with multiple sacks, starting this week, but. His dad also said he doesn't think he's up to 6'7" now, 4 inches taller than Dad, but he doesn't think he's going to be growing any taller. But he said he does expect him to fill out even more. So I could see down the road maybe he's just this really unblockable defensive tackle at some point, kind of the Riley Mills big tackle. But because they do have edge guys, we still haven't seen much of Logan Thomas, and he had the blocked punt. He's a guy who has factored off the edge in the past, and Jordan Botello with a nice step forward as he comes off of multiple off-season or multiple surgeries. That was 31 snaps for him, and he seemed to be a step faster. But I think we'll see more out of these guys. Up and down, we didn't talk about Jalen Sneed, who seemed to have.
We haven't talked about Jalen Sneed all year.
No, but he had some moments there after he came out. It looked like he might be hurt. He got back in there and factored, had a sack. Luke Talich is a playmaker. He seems to be in the right place and made the most of his 18 snaps. So Dallas Golden. I mean, we're just like, okay, go in there for the Alabama grad transfer. Dallas Golden, Devontae Smith out this week.
Out, calf.
Dallas Golden coming off 54 snaps, and they didn't pick on him. They were picking on Devontae early because he was hobbled, but Dallas Golden belongs.
Some more North Carolina State notes before we get to Pete Cordelli. The series is tied at 2. This is the 5th meeting all time. The Irish are 1-0 at home, 1-1 in Raleigh, 0-1 at a neutral site. Saturday's game will be the first meeting since 2023 at Carter Finley Stadium. Rain-delayed game at Carter Finley Stadium, and it was the Audric Estime hot dog game. Who sat around and had some hot dogs during the delay and then ran for 70 yards? 80 yards. What was it?
On that first play back?
The first play back.
I think it was 80.
80 yards. Notre Dame wins that game 45-24. This is the first meeting at Notre Dame Stadium since 2017. Notre Dame won that one 35-14. The last time Notre Dame lost to North Carolina State, 2016 in Raleigh, the old Hurricane game. They lost 10-3. So say the offense struggles on Saturday. Say the defense doesn't take a step forward. How worried should we be about this Notre Dame kicking game, gents?
It does not look good. It's very
shaky. It's over there in the corner, but it's there. Like,
I mean, Marcus
do they have a kicking problem right now?
I mean, Marcus even mentioned, he's like, we just have to make a decision. Like, they're going to make a decision this week, and they're just going to stick by the decision because they haven't even been sure in terms of what happens behind Burnett. It is, if a game is going to be coming down to a field goal, it's going to be very worrisome for Notre Dame this season, I think, as of right now.
So we're getting, college football especially gets more and more like the NFL year by year. And with the portal and the payments and all that, this is the classic: bring in 5 kickers on a Tuesday and work them all out. Sign the best available Grammatica, and so that I think we're 1 year away. Whereas this comes up again in 26. All the teams will be able to have Notre Dame worked out these 5 guys, and there they are. But no,
Can't they go to the soccer team?
I was gonna say men's soccer is 7-2-3 right now.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
it's a great. Did you scout the soccer game the other day?
I did not. Brandon Aubrey did not.
That's your assignment. Scout that. Have you watched soccer yet?
They're 7-2-3 on the season.
Look at you.
They're pretty solid.
It's the soccer stats.
It's the women. The women's team is really the best team on campus for soccer, but the men's are pretty good as well.
Well, if a woman wants to kick, that's great. Bring her along.
Lizzie Engel, she's pretty good.
You got to do something about the point after attempt. Eric Schmidt's kick was blocked on Saturday against Boise State. And then we never saw Eric Schmidt again. They went for 2, and then Marcello Diomede gets the last 2 PATs. So maybe they have a decision today. Maybe they make a decision tomorrow. But moving forward, it can't be Noah Burnett. Oh, by the time we get to Saturday, he's out of uniform. Who's it going to be? Is it going to be Eric Schmidt? Is it going to be who? Like, you've got to find a guy.
Whatever he's dealing with,
get this thing taken care of.
I guess a strained right hip, whatever it is,
Is it a hip or is it a hamstring?
Well, they still put it on there as hip.
It's listed as a hip, but everybody that talks about the kicking situation calls it a hamstring. Maybe it's just a right leg in general.
Mitch Jeter went through hell last year trying to get back, and even when he did get back, even the 27-yarder in the final game was missed. It's a crazy thing. I'm sure it drives the fans batty that it can. The next real tight game they're going to need field goals. I'll just tell you this. I mean, I've learned my lesson. I think this is certainly the pick I'm giving you later on for this game does not call for field goals.
No field goals.
Me either.
That's where we're at.
Not for Notre Dame. Like you can't. I
can't picture it.
You cannot.
So imagine if we're just factoring into our picks. What's it like for the head coach to go into a game thinking, everything's 4-down territory to some extent.
4th and 8, and it's a gospel go for it.
4th and 8 from your 32.
That's no way to win a national championship.
But it is a way to beat North Carolina State.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
So you figure, I will push back on one thing that I think Marcus said about Burnett. Well, we can't just not have him kick during the week, and I would say, why not? Why not? Whatever it takes to get him to the post on Saturday. You know, he's got multi-year experience. If that's his way, is just not taking any practice kicks during the week or just a couple. I mean, think of all it's a bit like golf. They always talk about. So some guys just roll out of the car. They the clubs are on the back, and they might take just a couple warm-up swings. They don't even go near the range, and the first one stripe it right down the middle. Right? You know, we all know that guy. You're that guy probably.
No.
And so maybe he's that
Enough
guy.
of this golf talk.
Maybe he's that guy. He just rolls out of the parking lot, goes to the first tee, boom, pipes it right down the middle.
We'll take a break, come right back, talk to our man, Pete Cordelli, right after this. He's already laughing about everything he's going to tell us. Pete Cordelli, friend of the show. If you missed it, we had him back during the Arkansas week. He's a North Carolina State graduate. Why not bring him back from North Carolina State? Notre Dame and North Carolina State on Saturday. But I don't want to talk about North Carolina State. I want to talk about 1988. How are we sitting here 37 years later, and that's the last national championship Notre Dame football has won? How does that happen?
That's the NIL question of the year, because
Yes.
if we can answer that, we'd make a lot of NIL money. I mean, 37 years of a bank account. Really? Come on, guys. Let's see. It started after Coach Holtz left. I don't understand why the decision was made to elevate an assistant on the staff. I think some poor decisions were made with head coaching staff wise. And that's when you bring Charlie Weiss in, an NFL guy who's never coached in college. We're seeing a repeat performance in Chapel Hill with Chapel Bill right now. There was always something that the players had to do if Charlie wanted to grant them something. And I know he and Theismann lived across the hall from each other or something, whatever dorm they were in. That doesn't mean you can adapt to college football. I just think that some of the decisions caught guys off guard because they don't understand. Notre Dame's been a national recruiting football program since Newt Rockne got there. And the one thing we learned from Moose Krause, who was the emeritus AD when we got there, was he said Rockne's deal was back in the late 20s, early 30s, immigration was a big part of building this country. But the one common thread that kept the Irish, the Italian, the Polish, Germans, whoever, was Catholicism. And he said, when you go out to recruit these young men, make sure their mom and dad come with them, and I'll meet you in the church. And Moose said, there were times coaches didn't talk to us. They just talked to mom and dad. Mm-hmm. And the one thing those parents understood, that cross, the meaning of Notre Dame, Our Lady on the Dome, and it was powerful. The other thing, guys, I don't think coaches are ready for is that, and Coach Holtz did such a super job of this with help from Roger Valdesari. Coach used to call Monday through Thursday for national media. Mm-hmm. Let's say we were going to Raleigh this week to play NC State instead of NC State coming to South Bend. Well, obviously the Raleigh newspaper, but then he'd have to talk to Chicago at some point, LA, Dallas, but he would divide it in 15-minute blocks. Then the next day it might be Minnesota, Phoenix, Boston, Seattle, because we had players on the team from all those places. The next day it might be Miami, Pittsburgh, Madison, Wisconsin, especially if we're recruiting someone there, Fort Worth, Texas. And then on Thursday, there were 4 more parts of the country. but he always started out with the team we were playing first. So if we're playing Boise Monday at 1 o'clock to 1:15, he's talking to Boise.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think head coaches that come into Notre Dame understand the national media requires a bunch of your time. And between Coach and Roger Valdesari setting that up, we got the word out across the country. And every Thursday in our recruiting meeting, he'd tell us the newspapers he talked to. So that when we recruited states, we just didn't recruit parts of areas. I had 9 states, and I had Texas, Oklahoma, Louisiana, because I was the only guy on the staff that had recruited in those areas. But Southwest Airlines was basically my rental car. I could get on a flight at 6 in the morning in New Orleans, be in Houston at 7, and be in my first high school at 7:30. And then I could go to San Antonio and other guys going out to California and things. And I think until you get really ingrained in the Notre Dame fabric of how national this program is, that takes a lot of your time. It's not just about X's and O's and recruiting.
Before
the head coach has got to do a lot of stuff.
Before you guys got rolling in '88, beating Michigan and Michigan State and Purdue,
Yep.
When you gathered as a staff, when did you guys kind of look at each other and say, you know what, we got a chance to be really freaking good on both sides of the football with all this talent that we have?
That's a great question. And, we always thought '89 was going to be our best team.
Mm-hmm.
We were, that first year, man, you come in and you go 5-6, and Father Hesburgh walks in and said, Lou, this is okay, but one more of these, we may be looking for somebody else. So that carried over to us. And then the next year in '87 is when he put in the 2 games a week situation. We would play a game on Tuesday, we'd have 30 plays, and then the game on Saturday. But that carried over and developed a mentality. '88, we felt like we were going to be really good as long as we stayed healthy. We didn't feel like we quite had the depth on both sides of the ball, that if a starter went down, our backups were going to have to really step up. But obviously, after the Miami game and that win, you kind of reassessed. And we said, this has got a chance we have a chance to do something great here with these guys if they maintain the right focus. And let me tell you, Frank Stams, Wes Pritchard, Michael Stonebreaker, they kept everybody loose. I mean, the 3 amigos, as they call themselves, they kept everybody loose. I don't know if you guys remember the Stanford game that year. There was some kind of something going on nationally. Maybe there was a shutdown with the airlines or stuff. So Stams and Pritchard are walking out of a meeting in the Joyce Center, and the phone is ringing, but it's like after everybody's left. So Stams goes over and picks up the phone and says, "Hello, football department." And the guy on the other end says, "Hey, look, I'm here in California, and I think we're having some trouble with our flights. Is the game going to be canceled?" He said, "Oh, yeah." He said, "They're talking about it here." He said, we're talking about canceling that game. If I was you, I'd stay home. And are you a Stanford fan? Yeah. He said, "Well, let me tell you something. We're going to kick you so bad. Don't worry about it. Don't come." And he hung up.
He hung up on him.
The next day, Roger has to come in to Lou and go, "Who answered the phone last night?" So that led to,
Wasn't me.
I mean, it was a FBI, CIA, the total internal investigation. And Stamps finally raised his hand. He said, "Coach, I didn't want to leave the guy, without answering the phone, but I just told him the truth. We're going to kick the." And those guys were something.
So,
But no, really, after the Miami game, we had a feeling. Now, we didn't play very well at Navy, but from that point on through the end of the year, we felt really good about our football, and we were healthy. We really didn't lose anybody to injury.
you guys, you're here from '86 through '90, and those last 3 years, I almost think of them in total. just 33-4, and the 3 of the losses were just by a handful of points, 9 total points.
Yep.
But I want to ask about Ricky Waters. Came up last night when we were talking to Jeremiah Love. He brought him up, and here we go. So I'm looking forward to this because the question was about running styles. And Jeremiah said, I asked about Reggie Bush, and you heard different guys here and there. He said, what I hear from a lot of people is I run like Ricky Waters. So do you see that, first of all, and then the person, the player, the personality, what was it like coaching Ricky Waters?
Ricky Waters went to Bishop McDevitt High School in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So I fly in to watch him play on a Friday night. And, Penn State's there, everybody's there. Ricky comes right over, and I'm like, yeah, please don't say hello to me because these guys are watching it. And he goes, Coach, don't worry about it. He said, I'm a domer. I said, look, we can talk about that. Go have a game. He said, Coach, I'm going to catch 3 runs for 3. He said, it's going to be a big night.
And then he did, right?
He rushes. The first series, he breaks one, goes about 50. He comes back, and they put him out at flanker, and they put him in motion across the formation. The split end runs a post. He runs the wheel. He catches it. Boom. He goes on, scores a run. Yeah, he scored 6 touchdowns that night. So the game is over, and I'm standing there, and his mom and dad, his family's right there, and hello. But I know, these folks are glaring at me like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm here to watch Ricky. So Coach Holtz, when he went in the house, he said, you're coming to Notre Dame, and you're going to carry the ball so many times. We're going to make sure you win the Heisman Trophy. Great. Paterno didn't say that at Penn State. I'm going to Notre Dame. Oh, great. Okay. If you guys remember, we put Ricky at wide receiver for the Miami game, and we had to do that to kind of spread him out and get more speed. And we ran that post corner. Ricky caught it on the 1. And so, we used his abilities from high school where he could catch it, run it, do it. They even had a halfback pass in for him. But the one thing about Ricky, when he broke the line of scrimmage, with all running backs, you talk about CBA. And it's not the collective bargaining agreement. It's control to read your block, a burst to get to the second level, and then accelerate away. And every time Ricky knew he could run away, he put that chest out, that head up, and we'd sit there and go, nobody's catching him. Remember, he ran the counter at Tennessee, came back and went 75. And as soon as he broke the line of scrimmage, that head went up. He didn't get to the 50-yard line, and Coach Holtz goes, he's gone, isn't he? I said, Coach, nobody's catching him. And he had that ability. Jeremiah reminds me more of Jerome. He reminds me more of Bettis.
Because of the
But
physicality?
he's got, and his balance. All great running backs, and Coach Landry taught me this in Dallas. If a running back takes a hit on, like let's say he's running to his right, and the defender's coming down, he'll plant that right foot, but the left foot will automatically widen and he keeps his base. A lot of running backs, when they get hit, that right foot will go to the left foot. They end up tackling themselves. Running backs that have great base on contact, they're going to get yak. Jeremiah's got a great base. He's downhill, and then he can run away from you. But Ricky, so I'm going to tell it anyway.
Uh-oh.
We beat Miami. So the next week, we come in, we're getting ready for Navy, and Coach Holtz starts. I went into Tony Brooks' house, and I told Tony Brooks, we're going to give him the ball enough times to win the Heisman Trophy enough. Sure enough, these 2 guys are competitive, and so I asked Tony one time, I said, Tony, what's all the yelling in the locker room after practice? He said, Coach, those 2 freshmen are screaming at each other who's going to win the Heisman Trophy because Lou told them both were going to get the ball. And the seniors, it's driving them nuts. So they bring it up to Coach Holtz. I never said that. I really, and it's like I was in both home visits. Now, I'm not that deaf. Yeah, you did. You did. Okay, I like it. So we beat Navy. We come back. Lou calls Ricky in and he said, hey, Rick, we got a package for you at wide receiver. And Ricky storms out. He leaves. So coach sends one of the GAs to get him, brings him back. And we're in the offensive meeting room. And Ricky said, what are you doing? Lou says, what are you doing? He said, Coach, you sat in my living room. He said, you told me I was going to win a Heisman Trophy. You told Brooks that too. Then you call me in before the Miami game and you say, this is just for this game. Then we did it again last week. He said, you keep playing at receiver, I quit. I'm going home. Joe Moore, I mean, he's got 2 cigarettes going. He's so nervous, like he can't see straight. Joe Moore looks up at him and he goes, Ricky, you're crazy. He said, I'm crazy. He said, you're crazy for even bringing up that idea. He said, I'm the best damn running back, not only here, but in America. Give me the ball more and I'll show you why. And Joe was like, oh my God. And Lou was like, gotcha. You're going to stay at running back. So it's like, and he tells the Jay, follow him, make sure he doesn't leave school. So, yeah, that was just one of those little sidebars for the 88 season that occurred. So Coach had to kind of mix up. Coach had to mix up how many carries those. So it was like, okay, how many carries does Brooks have? How many carries does Water have? And then we got to give it to Johnson every now and then.
2-part question. A, what was it like to coach Tony Rice? And what was your reaction when the first time he went into that game against Pittsburgh in '87, he lined up under the guard?
He was the most competitive guy you ever wanted to see. And he was like a sponge. All he wanted to do was get better to win. The year that he didn't play, when the guy on campus told his son, you don't want to be like him, he came right to my office. He was crying.
He said, "You don't want to be like him. He was a Prop 48. You don't want to be like him because he's dumb." Is I think is what the father told the son. So he came to your office
on campus. He was on the quad walking over, and he comes in and he's crying. And I said, "What happened?" He tells me. I said, "Stop. You're one of the smartest guys I know. And let me tell you something. You're going to get your diploma here. You're going to get your degree." That's a promise that whoever comes to Notre Dame with Coach Holtz and his staff, we're going to make sure you guys graduate because it's the number one reason you're here. And he said, "Coach, it just hurt." I said, "Hey, won't be the first time it hurts. But you know what? You can overcome all that." He kind of just looked and he said, "You know what? You're right." I said, "Here's the deal. Let that be a chip. Let that be fuel for that fire, man." He said, "Right, okay." Every Thursday after practice, I would meet with quarterbacks and we would go through the checkoffs to make sure we were on the same page. Because quarterbacks are the extension of the staff. Anything you didn't like it. And I'm telling guys, he always had 2 or 3 questions. He was into it. So when we he's very smart football guy, understood the concepts, what we were doing in the run game, what we were doing in the passing game. So when we go to Pittsburgh and Terry Anderzak goes down, I had come from the press box, and remember at Old Pitt Stadium, I mean, that thing was up on a hill, and you get down there and half's almost over. It's so far away. So Coach just looks at me. He said, "Talk to Tony. He's got to go in." No problem. I said, "T, here's your chance." I said, "Terry's done. This is your team." He said, "I've been waiting for it." I said, "Remember what that guy said to you?" He goes, "Coach, I've never forgotten it." He said, "I'm going to go show him." And so he was trying to get the play right. And as he broke the huddle, he looks to the sideline and Coach Holtz is saying something to him and he stops and he starts walking up. And I'm yelling to George Stewart on the headset, "George, tell him to get under the center." Because he's walking up and he's looking at Lou and he goes to put his hands under the left guard. And it's like, "T, I'm Coach, yeah, I know." And he said later, he said, I was was trying to get the right play call from Coach Holtz. But after that, I mean, he had it straight. And the other one was when the game's tied, you know, he comes up and he puts his arm around Coach Holtz. And let me tell you something. Nobody touches Coach. Lou hates people. Lou hates to shake hands. He hates anybody trying to make contact with him. And when Tony came up and put his arm around, he whipped around like, I mean, it looked, he had a clench, like, what are you doing? Who's grabbing me? And he looked, saw it was Tony, and Tony goes, this is fun, isn't it? And Lou's like, oh my God, I want to strangle somebody, you know, but you knew you had something special because he wanted to compete. When we went out to Southern Cal in '88, you know, they have Mark Carrier, they've got Junior Seau. I mean, they've got some dudes, right? Their left corner, the guy to our right, was the indoor Pac-10 60-meter champion and the outdoor 100-meter champion. So on Monday, we're watching film, and I said, Tony, I don't know if we're going to be able to run any option this week, especially left. He goes, what do you mean? I said, Coach doesn't think you can outrun that backside corner. He goes, did he say that? I said, well, Tone, you know, you know who this guy, I know who he is. We all know who he is. I mean, it's the first time I've really seen him get like bowing up and everything. And I said, well, just telling you, he has some concerns. Why? I said, the best you've ever done on pro timing day is 4.8. You know I play faster than that. I mean, he starts yelling. And so some guys are laughing. And all of a sudden, man, it's like, he's taking this serious. So we get out to practice Tuesday, and he said, Coach, we ever going to run belly option, trap option left? I said, nah, it's not in the plan right now. I said, we're going to run the trap and the belly. We're going to give the ball, but Coach really doesn't think you can outrun that guy. Don't you know it in practice on Tuesday, he checks to 15. 15 is our belly to the left. 19 is the belly option. He checks from 15 to 19. And Lou goes, what are you doing? What are you doing? We've got the perfect, hand the ball off to Johnson. And he doesn't say anything, but he looks at me and I'm like, I told you. It goes on Wednesday. We're on the plane out to California, and he's like, is he really going to limit my touches at running the football? I said, yeah, you know, I told you on Monday. We get the ball in the third drive of the game. They had kicked to the end zone. The ball's in the middle of the field, and Coach puts twins into the boundary, into the right side. So we've got the whole left side to run. Don't you know he calls belly option? And I'm like, oh, I can't wait to see this. Tony breaks it, and here comes Mark Carrier coming down. He puts a move on him, and all of a sudden he makes a miss, and he takes off. He gets to about the other 25, and he looks back, and here comes this corner. I mean, he's screaming to catch him. Tony pulls a Ricky Waters. He puts that chest out, that head up. I mean, and he starts just striding out, and he gets into the end zone. He flips the ball, and now he's sprinting to the sideline. Coach Holtz goes over to give him a high five. He runs right by him. He comes to the player phone. He goes, did I show him? Did I show? I mean, he said, I can outrun him, and you knew it. He said, you knew I'd never let him catch me. I'm faster than that. Well, Lou is looking bewildered, like, what in the heck just happened? So Coach comes over to shake his hand, and he goes, did I prove it to you? And he goes, what are you talking about? You said all week I couldn't outrun that guy. He goes, I never said that.
Of course.
All of a sudden, we need to talk. I'm like, yes, sir. He goes, that was pretty good. He said, I'll go along with it. I said, Coach, let's do it again because he'll score again. But Tony Rice, when it came time to compete, there was no better competitor. And what a great leader. And everybody on that team understood it. But when he stepped into the huddle, he took command. He knew what he was doing. And what a joy it was to coach him and all those quarterbacks at that time. You know, the other guy that was a lot like him was Kevin McDougal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Matt could do many of the same things. And the one guy we had that left was Jake Kelchner from Berwick. I mean, he was a better quarterback at Berwick than Paulus was. So we had some good quarterbacks during that time.
2 questions. Making the grade, developing the skills
Yes.
you need to take your game to the next level. A, what was it like being an author? And B, if people are interested in seeing the book and buying the book, what can they do to get it? Because I have my free copy right here.
There you go. I don't know if you guys remember a guy that played at Notre Dame by the name of Brian Dirkman from Fort Wayne, Indiana. He was a linebacker that Bob Davie recruited. A year ago in June. There it is. Yeah. Hey, that picture was AI generated now. I just want to tell you. That
Look
was
how
AI
good that guy's
generated.
looking in there.
Oh, I'm telling you. I mean, I've had a face for radio for many, many years. So, Brian Dirkman, a year ago at the end of May, I hurt my left shoulder. So I go in to see Dr. Dirkman. We get talking because he's a former Notre Dame player. And he said, we need surgery. So we go in and we do it. First meeting I have with him after the surgery, he said, Coach, you should have been in to see me 10 years ago. He said, you got so many bone spurs and arthritis. And he said, your rehab's going to be about 5 months. Now, this is the first week of June. He said, what are you going to do all summer? Well, my lovely wife, we've been married 42 years. She said, that's easy. We've traveled all over the country with all these darn boxes. He's going to start going through boxes and we're going to get rid of a bunch of stuff we haven't used in 40 years. And I said, yes, dear. Okay. Yeah. That's all my coaching stuff. That's my life. Well, it was the best thing that ever happened. I start going through there. I find notebooks from 1972 at NC State to Arkansas to Minnesota. But I also found my Dallas Cowboys stuff. And that's the first time I was introduced to position specifics. And Coach Landry had gone through the staff in Dallas, and like for the quarterbacks, there were so many characteristics they wanted to grade: running backs, receivers, offensive linemen, defensive linemen. So you have your general coachability, adaptability, attitude, in those categories. So when we got to Notre Dame, guys, in 1986, after the 86 season, Coach Holtz, and I had shown Coach this before, he came in and he said, do you have that position specific form? I said, yes, sir. He said, can we do that here? I said, Coach, we can do whatever you want, but the key is you have to get with the position coach to figure out what you want to build your roster. I said, and that's how Coach Landry used to do it. Every time a new assistant came on the staff, like if it was a new running back coach, he would show them the form and then say, is there anything you want to add or delete? So it was fluid. You're constantly looking for new ways. So we put that form together at Notre Dame. Well, in 87, 88, 89, and 90, we had 25 scholarships to give in all 4 years. And this is in the book. Of the 100 scholarships over the next 4 years that we gave, 41 of those players got drafted in the NFL and 7 of them went as free agents. And there's a direct correlation between the general categories and the position specifics. So Coach came, we start talking a little bit more. Most schools have about 120, 150 guys on their board. We increased ours to about 250 because Notre Dame's not for everybody, and everybody's not for Notre Dame, as you guys know. We were going to stay within the academic standards and everything else because the same things that Coach Parsegian had through Dan Devine, everybody else. And Lou said, yes, we're going to keep the academic standards. Well, we would go in, and you guys know every Friday of a home game is the quarterback club luncheon. For the home games, we would come in on the Friday mornings at 8:30 and we'd watch film till 11:45. So Tom, if I'm recruiting you and you're a running back, the running back coach, the offensive coordinator, O-line coach, and then one defensive coach would watch you. 4 guys had to sign off. If you were a linebacker, the linebacker coach, defensive coordinator, another defensive guy, and an offensive coach would come in and watch you. He didn't offer a scholarship to a guy. We kept his report on file because we were either going to play against him in the regular season because the other schools on our schedule were recruiting him, or we're going to play him in a bowl game. So it helped us in our matchups. If we took you, here's why. So there were layers to this, and it took time, it took effort, but a lot of time and decisions had to be made on the right guys and what we wanted to build. You know, Foch Fazio left, then Barry came in, so Coach had to go from what Foch wanted to what Alvarez wanted on defense. Offensively, we knew from our belly out, trap option, play action stuff what we wanted to do. So in the position specifics, I said, there are too many parents, single parents, grandparents, aunties, uncles who are raising these kids that don't know what evaluators are looking at for their son or relative that they're recruiting. So I wrote this book primarily for young players, high school coaches, high school players on how to get a college scholarship because college debt has wrecked many a young person and their families. But if you can have a checklist as to what you're being looked at and evaluated on, here's how you get better. Eye placement, hand placement, agility, footwork. I put 20 categories in for each position, 5 points being the highest, so the max is 100 points. 5 points in the general, max 20 categories. So the most you can make is 200 points, but nobody's going to get, this is a starting point. And there's so many things to work on. Take one a day, then 2. At the end, take 5 things, work on them that week. The next week, 5. The next week, 5. The next week. So in a month, you should be able to see where you are on what you do good, what you're average at, and what you really need to work on. Some of this is going to come about through growth, through age, developing maturity, and in the weight room. But guys, the biggest shock to me in talking to high school people, most parents don't know that the NCAA definition of a recruitable athlete is once you start 9th grade. Your clock starts in the classroom as well as on the football field. The NCAA's definition of a recruitable athlete is once you start that first class in 9th grade. Look, in 9th grade, were we really thinking about getting a college scholarship? Are you kidding me? I'm trying to make it to lunch, man. Come on. So 9th grade, you play with your buddies. You're having fun around all the guys. 10th grade. So by the end of your junior year, going, I'm pretty good at this, and I like what we're doing. I think I want to go on to college. So as a coach, I walk in. The first thing I do is go to the counselor's office and say, "Could I see the transcript of so and so?" And they're like, "Got a lot of work to do." So the first meeting you have to have is with parents, guardians, and going, "I don't know if I can offer your son a scholarship because of what's going on academically. But now, here's how we're recruiting your son. I want everything to be transparent because there's no secrets out there. There's no secrets. How can I make you better? How can I help your family situation?" So that was the whole purpose of the book.
And then
the main book.
How can people get a hold of it if they want to order?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. Go to Amazon.com and go to Making the Grade, and then lowercase a.co. And both the book and the workbook are there, but it's more of a guide. The workbook and there's some tips in there about quarterbacks, running backs, different things. But so far, it's going pretty well. But we're trying to get the word out. And again, I didn't write it for college. I didn't write it for the NFL. They have their own deal. But there's too many young people that are the future talent pool in our country that need to know what they're being evaluated on. And it changes with new coaches, with new programs. But you know what? There's a lot of money out there in scholarships. Be good enough to get some and help your family out and help your future out. And even those guys, fellas, 98% of the guys that get drafted in the NFL, 2% get drafted, 98 don't get drafted. So what are you going to do if you don't make it in the NFL? And don't really talk about NIL, but be good enough to get some NIL money, because that may be sometimes the most money you'll ever make in a lifetime.
There you go. That's Pete
Making
Cordelli.
a grade. We got to do it in the classroom. We got to do it on the football field. We're judged on it every day.
Absolutely, Pete. Always appreciate the time. Maybe we'll have you back in a couple more weeks.
I would love it. You guys are always fun, but as Ricky Waters said, you guys are crazy. Hey, y'all do a great job. Thank you so much, and go Irish.
Easiest segment of the show. Toughest for some people. One hot take, one score prediction. Notre Dame, North Carolina State, Saturday, 3:42, Notre Dame Stadium. Who wants to go first?
I'm ready.
Look at this.
There we
Let's
go.
Let's go.
Baited me into it.
What do you got?
Well, you already know there'll be no field goals in my prediction for Notre Dame.
Is that your hot take?
No.
Okay.
I'm formulating that as I'm speaking.
Why'd you offer to go first?
I'm ready to go.
right, let's go.
I'm ready. I can multitask. 42-17 is your final. Notre Dame covers, and I'm going to say that I was going to say something nice about Bryce Young, and I do think things are going to get better for him. But NC State's efficiency in pass blocking is 32nd in the country. Special teams, 112th. That's a weak point. That's a glaring. That's a circle. Jordan Faison returns a punt for a touchdown.
I like that one.
What do you got?
All right.
Neill.
My hot take is going to be another wide receiver. I'm going Malachi Fields, 2 20-plus yard touchdowns. I think he just has that game-breaking ability. And then 42-21. No field goals for Notre Dame.
This is just it's too bizarre because I made my pick Monday. You know what I picked? 42.
Wow.
We all picked 42.
Wow.
My pick Monday was 42-10. Notre Dame takes care of business. They've got a massive game coming a week from Saturday, but they're not going to look past this one. They're going to take care of an ACC opponent not named Miami. They go to 4-2 on the season. And my hot take is I went back and forth on this most of the morning. Is it Drake Bowen or is it Kingston Viliama-Asu? I'll go with Kingston. Will have double-digit tackles on Saturday. So
I can see that.
I see that one too.
we'll see what happens. Notre Dame, North Carolina State. That'll wrap up this show. We'll be back this time next week, maybe a little earlier. We got a very special guest for USC week. Who's it going to be? Stay tuned right here on the next Pot of Gold.
This has been the South Bend Tribune's Pot of Gold podcast, your home for insightful Notre Dame football coverage and analysis.